A true legend in Louisiana sports history was Ernie Ladd, a stellar defensive star at Grambling University. He was taken in the 15th round of the American Football League draft by head coach Sid Gilman of the San Diego Chargers. Ernie would go on to play in 4 straight AFL All-Star games from 1962 to 65 and would also make All-Pro with the Houston Oilers and Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs head coach Hank Stram once said of Ernie that his dominance as a defensive lineman, along with his teammate Earl Faison, forced Hank to develop the moving pocket offense so quarterback Len Dawson could have more time to throw the football. Ernie retired from pro ball after the 1968 season and was the invited guest of Hank Stram at Super Bowl IV in New Orleans. Here's a rare interview with CBS TV and Frank Gifford in the victorious Chiefs locker room with Ernie from that game.
Ernie Ladd, you said something you were a part in your heart.
Oh, yes, of course. I've been wrestling all season in Madison Square Garden, around New York and Boston and other places. But in my heart, I want to tell you, I was a part of this organization. Like they might try to forget the American Football League, but we'll never forget it.
But fans will also know very well that Ernie was an international pro wrestling star, having won numerous titles all over North America, including right here in the old Mid-South Wrestling territory. Ernie was inducted into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame in 1994. That same year, he was placed into the WCW Hall of Fame, and 1 year after that, the WWF Hall of Fame. Ernie could also talk with great enthusiasm as well. Here's a sample with ring announcer Reeser Boughton on Ernie's opinion of Andre the Giant.
But Andre the Giant seems to relish that North American Championship belt more than he does the World Championship.
Well, Reese, the reason Andre the Dummy wants me so bad because I beat him in Los Angeles. He goes around telling people that he's never been beat, which is a lie. And if you stand on my face and call me a liar, I'll slap your face real good in the general public.
And on occasion, Ernie would call wrestling matches with the legendary Boyd Pierce. Here's probably his greatest call involving Paul Orndorff reversing Ted DiBiase's figure 4 leg lock for the first time.
Oh, looks like Ted DiBiase is in a lot of pain. Paul Orndorff is bridged up. DiBiase sound like he want to give up.
Look at Paul Orndorff.
Look at the pain that DiBiase is in.
On the far side, really letting Ted DiBiase have it. Both men now.
DiBiase is about to pass out.
Ted go.
DiBiase is about to pass out. He won't give up. Why don't the man give up? Snap his leg. He's going to get his leg snapped. I cannot believe this boy Pierce.
And like you said, Ernie, a good way to receive a broken leg right now.
I cannot believe this.
Ernie was very proud of becoming a born-again Christian later in his life and often spoke to groups about fulfilling their life through Christ. Ernie Ladd passed away on March 10, 2007 in Franklin, Louisiana at the age of 68 and will be greatly missed by those who knew him and the fans that watched him. For Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor.
So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, for Ernie Ladd, our guest commentator, I'm Boyd Pierce saying goodbye, everybody. There you see it.
I believe
no
DiBiase
winner. Time is gone on Mid-South Wrestling.
No, he's not out. I can't believe this.
Welcome to the Closet Sports Soundbite. I'm William Taylor. Today we do something a little bit different. I used to call this the Archive Audio Answer Find. You're going to hear 4 voices in the world of sports, past and present, and try to figure out who they are. Sometimes they have a common theme, sometimes they don't. So without further ado, let's listen to today's 4 mystery voices.
Let's just get with it. What great matches. And that tag title match with Bob Root and DiBiase against Alpha and Sika, that should be a barn burner.
And it's great to have you with us, talking arena football, voodoo style. And
the Super Bowl champion Washington Redskins, that means quarterback Joe Theismann, running back John Riggins.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport.
So, do you know who our voices are for today? Well, the first one was legendary wrestling promoter and former Oklahoma University football star, Cowboy Bill Watts. Second was our own Kenny Trahan. Third, the legendary Howard Cosell. And finally, the voice of ABC's Wide World of Sports, Jim McKay. This is William Taylor, and we'll get with you next time with another edition of the Closet Sports Soundbite and Audio Archive Answer Find. Chris Schenkel was truly a landmark voice in TV sports history. His remarkable baritone was first heard over the airwaves at WBAA in Indiana in the 1940s while he was pursuing a pre-med degree. He resumed his broadcast career after serving in World War II, where some records show he did the first college football game on TV. In 1952, he moved up to the national stage at the Dumont Network, where his duties included calling New York Giants football. He did college football.
And a slot I, this is Manning. Archie Manning, the junior quarterback from Drew, Mississippi, is brought down by Lynn Garner.
The Olympics.
And there's a 7-10 of perfect score for Nadia Comaneci.
Golf.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, a United States Open record of 275 for 72 holes. Jack Nicklaus.
And even tragic events, such as here in the early 1980s.
Rescue workers were frustrated as there was so little left of flight, New York to Warsaw, carrying our United States boxing team and its officials.
But for 36 years, he was by far known for one TV staple.
Bringing you competition between the finest bowlers in the world. It's a professional bowlers tour.
His two most frequent color analysts were Billy Welu, who he worked with until Welu's untimely death in 1974, and Nelson Burton Jr.
Well, Christopher, there are a lot of people that have been involved with the PBA, but for me, 23 years sitting next to you, 36 years the head of the Professional Bowlers Series, and for 50-some years and continuing to be the benchmark that all of us as announcers are measured by. I think the first 50 years of television, the two euphonious voices that we'll always remember, Walter Cronkite and Chris Schenkel.
Thank you.
He also did not witness a 300 game on the PBA telecast until 1987 when Pete McCordick did so at the Greater LA Open. The reason why? It's because 3 times Schenkel had to miss a bowling telecast for other ABC assignments. You guessed it, a perfect game was bowled in his absence 3 different times. The first PBA telecast Schenkel called was one by Roy Cohn, the last by Walter Ray Williams Jr. Schenkel was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame's broadcast wing in 1992, and the PBA started naming its Player of the Year award after Schenkel in 1999. The PBA series ended on ABC in 1997, and needless to say, it was a difficult and memorable goodbye for the legendary broadcaster.
Chris, lead us into the final frame for the final time right now, partner.
Not sure I can. Thank you. Till we meet again. Love you. It was easier to wink, and it's not so hard to cry either. No, thank you. Goodbye.
Chris Schenkel passed away on September 11, 2005 at the age of 83. He was a remarkable voice for remarkable times. Until next time, for the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor. On today's Closet Sports Soundbite, we go back to 1983, the first year of the United States Football League. In Week 13, the Philadelphia Stars, whose head coach was Jim Mora, went to Nickerson Field to play the Boston Breakers, who were led by Dick Corey. This was the Stars' opportunity to clinch their first ever division title, not to mention the first division title for any team in USFL history. However, the Boston Breakers would spoil this opportunity for the Stars as they drove down the field late in the game and win the contest on a play that was called the Immaculate Deflection.
Over the middle, there's Nolan France. First down, inside the 20, inside the 15 to the 14. 20 seconds to play. Lockett, Franz, and Smith. Last play of the ball game right here. Down the middle. Caught! It's caught! A ricochet catch by Lockett for a touchdown! What an ending to the game! The Boston fans react as if this is a championship football game. They are all over the field. The game is over. Time on the clock. This game is history. So Philadelphia's party is postponed on a ricochet catch in the end zone by Frank Lockett. And Dick Corey is got to be the happiest man in town.
Dick Corey. These guys are as good a group as I've ever been around. They play like that all year. Get bad breaks. They finally got a great break today. We were lucky to get the last one, but these guys never quit. I love every one of them.
Now let's go down to the field and Tim Brandt with Johnny Walton.
Thank you, Swanee. Johnny, have you ever seen a play like that?
Well, you know, I haven't seen many like that, but that one was well welcomed. You know, our motto is never give up. So we luckily got the bounce going our way for one time.
What were you telling the guys in the huddle, John, down the stretch?
Don't give up, fellas.
As always, head coach Dick Corey overcome with emotion after an exciting victory. The Philadelphia Stars would go on to lose the championship game that season to the Michigan Panthers. And at the conclusion of the '83 season, the Boston Breakers would pack up and move to New Orleans. This is William Taylor, and this has been another edition of the Closet Sports Soundbite. The start of the 1974 Major League Baseball season was highly anticipated as Hank Aaron was on the fringe of breaking Babe Ruth's all-time home run record. One interesting bit of controversy. Aaron was given permission by manager Eddie Matthews to sit out the opening series at Cincinnati, but when Commissioner Bowie Kuhn got word before opening day, he ordered Matthews to play Aaron in 2 of the 3 games against the Reds. As a result, Aaron tied Babe Ruth's record at Riverfront Stadium off of pitcher Jack Billingham. Here's the call from Milo Hamilton.
The excitement is here, and Aaron can put on the finishing touch. 3-1 pitch. There's the drive into left field. That ball is going, and out of here. Henry Aaron
Very mysteriously, the commissioner was absent 2 games later when over 53,000 people filled Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta for the Braves contest versus the Dodgers. He claimed he couldn't get out of an appearance at the Cleveland Indians Booster Club meeting that night, while many fans and media felt Kuhn didn't want to get booed for forcing Aaron to play in Cincinnati. But nonetheless, the great moment would occur in the 4th inning with Al Downing on the mound. Once again, here's Milo Hamilton.
Sitting on 7-14. Here's the pitch by Downing. Swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron. The fireworks are going. Henry Aaron is coming around third. His teammates are at home plate. And listen to this crowd.
Here's another perspective from NBC's Kurt Gowdy.
Aaron in his earlier days used to hit more to right center than the left. There's a long drive. Balls it deep, deep. It is gone. He did it. He did it.
And even more commentary from Dodgers announcer Vin Scully.
The poker face of Aaron shows the tremendous relief. What a marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol.
Ironically, Hank Aaron didn't become a huge household name in terms of commercial endorsements following his great hit. But here's a sample of one of his commercial spots.
You didn't have your Wheaties, so tough. You missed another play. Henry, you didn't have your Wheaties, strike free. You know it's not your day.
Hey, Aaron, get your Wheaties.
And just in case you forgot, the Braves won the game 7-4. The winning pitcher was Ron Reed, and a save went to Buzz Capra. Pitcher Tom House was credited with retrieving Hank Aaron's record-breaking baseball. For the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor. Today we go back to 1991, the 5th year of arena football's existence, and the first year was planted right here in New Orleans. A team called the Knight, that's N-I-G-H-T, playing in the Louisiana Superdome, under head coach Ed Kayat and assistant coaches Harold Jackson and Brian Gardner. While the team only won 4 games and lost 6, those 4 wins were pretty exciting, and this one in particular. In early July, they were hosting the Dallas Texans, not to be confused with the Dallas Texans of the old AFL or the 1952 NFL. Their head coach was Drew Pearson, and one of their assistant coaches was former Saints head coach Dick Nolan. The Dallas Texans took the lead with 10 seconds to go. They were scheduled to kick the ball off shortly afterwards. The only problem was the kicker brought out the wrong tee. You see, he brought out the field goal tee instead of the kickoff tee. As a result, Dallas took way too much time to set up for the kickoff, and a 3-yard penalty was enforced at the end of the return. After a short return and the 3-yard penalty, the New Orleans Knight had to try a 52-yard field goal to win the game. We pick up the call with Bill Land and Tony Hill.
52-yarder for Morales. He's hit from 48, 31, and 18 yards tonight. So Morales going for a 52-yard field goal attempt to win the game on the final play.
The fans are on their feet, folks. You think they love this game out here? These fans are really behind it.
Morales for 52 in the win. Long enough.
It's gone! Oh, no! Did I tell you this game is not nearly over? What a way to lose a game. What a way to win a game.
And they are going bonkers here in New Orleans. Eddie Kayat with 1 tick of the clock left. And Drew Pearson, a pat on the back from the winning coach, Eddie Kayat. New Orleans winning with time expiring, 39-37 over the Dallas Texans here at the Superdome.
At the end of the season, head coach Ed Kayat and assistant Harold Jackson would leave, join Sam Weish with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the NFL. The Knight would stay 1 more year in New Orleans before folding. This is William Taylor, and it's been another edition of the Closet Sports Soundbite. Eddie Robinson probably lived out one of the greatest college coaching careers of all time. He was born in 1919 in Jackson, Louisiana, and graduated from McKinley High School of Baton Rouge in 1937. 4 years later, he would graduate from Leland College, and soon after graduation was hired by Grambling to become their head football coach at the age of 22 in 1941. His 1942 squad went undefeated at 9-0, plus was unscored upon. No doubt this was a precursor to his incredible run as head coach for 57 seasons. Over 200 of his Grambling players went on to the NFL. His first was in 1949 when Tank Younger joined the Los Angeles Rams. In 1985, he broke the record of Paul Bear Bryant for most wins by a college head coach with 324. Here are some of his comments prior to breaking the record.
I don't really feel any pressure as a coach because of I guess, watching Coach Bryant and the manner in which he handled it and the way he talked about it. He said he was always worried about trying to get to the field, and I guess that's my main problem, getting to the field. The media has been nice to me through the years, and I feel obligated to be nice to them, which makes me late quite a few times. I've offered an apology to the team, and I told them what was going on, and we try to keep that clear.
Coach Robinson also comments on whether or not his message changed as the times changed during his tenure.
It's still the same with me. I went in thinking that the most important thing was that they would get a degree and be able to compete in the most competitive society in the world, and it's still the same. I really look at it like this. Quite a few kids come to you, they want to play professional football, and if you aren't careful, they want to remain eligible to do that, and you have to think about what happens if he's not able to play, because only a select few players are able to come out of college and go into professional football. So you have to talk to them about carrying on the academics along with the athletics, and this is what we've done through the years, and this is what we'll continue to do.
He won over 70% of his games and 17 SWAC championships. In addition, his Grambling Tigers became a mainstay in New Orleans with the annual rivalry versus Southern University in the Bayou Classic, which started in 1974. His success and longevity led to his name being placed in the Superdome Wall of Fame. But he always took much more pride with his marriage when he stated, quote, "The real record I have for 50 years is the fact that I have had one job and one wife," close quote. Coach Robinson would finish his career with 408 victories. He passed away on April 3, 2007, at the age of 88. A man who will truly be missed by many, both in the college football world and humanity. This is William Taylor, and this has been another edition of the Closet Sports Soundbite. Born September 18, 1951, Daryl Floyd Stingley would become a standout running back at John Marshall High School in Chicago. That led to a scholarship and star career at Purdue University as a wide receiver, which in turn led him to become the New England Patriots' first-round pick in 1973. His career steadily improved from 1973 to 77, and in 77 had 39 receptions and 5 touchdowns. Unfortunately, Daryl's career is more known for its untimely ending. On August 12, 1978, Stingley received what many thought was an unnecessary hit by Raiders defensive back Jack Tatum, resulting in paralysis. Despite the tragedy, Stingley would continue to look forward, and on September 3, 1979, he received an extended standing ovation at the beginning of the second quarter of the New England season opener. Here's the stadium announcement, followed by a comment from Frank Gifford.
At this time, we would like to make a very special player introduction. Please give a warm New England welcome to a very important member of the New England Patriots who is seated in the press box tonight. Number 84, wide receiver, Daryl Stingley.
Daryl Stingley making his first return visit. There's an absolute capacity crowd here. A standing ovation for number 84. Has a very optimistic outlook on his future. Has regained movement in his right hand after being fully paralyzed for so long.
Through it all, Stingley took the high road, and in 1983 wrote a book titled Happy to Be Alive. Here's Daryl's comments about his career, the 1979 introduction, and life afterwards.
When the injury first occurred, I never got a chance to hear what the doctors were saying because I was too busy fighting for my life. But as a result of the accident, I was able to actually sit and spend more time in developing a relationship. Life is not all physical, it's not all sport. You know, you have to apply yourself to other things. And as a result, I feel like my life is much more fulfilled. The fans would be so tremendous as it turned out to be. And this would also took the place of the cheers that I wouldn't hear eventually. Because my career was cut so short. After that night, after the way that people responded, it sort of served like a launching pad of sorts. Sort of made me be a little bit more comfortable with myself, I guess, and the public. Sort of like charged up my batteries and got me ready to go back out into the world and try to make something of my life. I guess you can look at me now and tell that I'm doing just fine.
Daryl Stingley would work in the personnel department for the Patriots and later work with Gene Upshaw in the NFL Players Union in securing benefits for disabled players. On April 5, 2007, Daryl Stingley passed away at age 55 from heart disease and pneumonia. His ability to overcome odds and move forward in life is something all of us can learn from. For the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor. January 31, 1919 was the birth date of Jack Roosevelt Robinson, better known as Jackie to the rest of the world. At age 1, his family left Georgia for Pasadena, California, after his father had abandoned them. He would go on to play 5 different sports in high school and at Pasadena Junior College, played 3 different sports, and was the All-Southland Junior College MVP of 1938. He was a member of the United States Army from 1942 to 44 and became a second lieutenant. Despite an outstanding military career, the most talked-of event during his tenure was when he was found innocent of insubordination at a court-martial over charges that he refused to sit in the back of a segregated military bus in Texas. He would be honorably discharged shortly afterwards. After playing in the minor leagues in Daytona Beach, Florida, the Dodgers signed him to play for Montreal in 1946. The next year, general manager Branch Rickey called Robinson to play in the majors, breaking the color barrier for the first time since baseball became organized in 1900. Here's an early interview with Robinson about his goals in baseball.
And I think my main ambition was to get along well enough with whoever I was playing with so that they would realize that there wasn't any friction because I was color and they were white. I mean, we could play together. I think that was my main ambition, was to break down that barrier, not so much for me to go to the major leagues. I just wanted somebody to go. I didn't care who it was.
His first game was against the Boston Braves on April 15, 1947, played first base and went 0-3 at the plate. Through all the slurs and remarks thrown at him during the season, he went .297, led the league in stolen bases, and won the National League's first ever Rookie of the Year award. Robinson would eventually play most of his career at second base. He had a .311 career batting average, played in 6 All-Star games, and incredibly stole home 19 times. He retired after the 1956 season because he refused to trade with the New York Giants and would be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. In 1997, Major League Baseball had every team retire the number 42 in honor of Robinson's 50th anniversary of breaking the color barrier. He passed away in 1972 at the age of 53. Not to be forgotten, the American League was integrated 11 weeks later when Larry Doby was signed by the Cleveland Indians. Remembering a great pioneer. This is William Taylor for the Closet Sports Soundbite. Joe Dimaggio's 56-game hitting streak will forever be part of baseball history. The magical year was 1941. It began on May 15th versus the White Sox in a hit off pitcher Eddie Smith. Along the way, Dimaggio had hits off of future Hall of Famers Lefty Grove, Bob Feller, Hal Newhouser, and Ted Lyons. During the streak, Dimaggio had a batting average of .408. Ironically, Ted Williams of the Red Sox hit .406 for the entire 1941 season. 2 months and 2 days after it started, the streak ended on July 17th versus the Cleveland Indians and pitchers Al Smith and Jim Bagby, with credit to third baseman Ken Keltner with great defensive stops. Here's Mel Allen with the call of the at-bat that ended it all.
67,000 fans at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, watching to see if Joe Dimaggio can keep his 56-game hitting streak alive. Jim Bagby on the mound, works the count for 1-1. Runner on first base. Here's the pitch. Joe Dimaggio swings that softball hit out to fourth. Blue Woodrow. He slips the ball back for 1 out, 3 late, and drives to first. It's in time for a double play. Joe Dimaggio's 56-game hitting streak is stopped.
A song once stated, "Where have you gone, Joe Dimaggio?" Well, needless to say, the 56-game hitting streak isn't going away anytime soon. For the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor. If you were to ask Saints fans, who do you think is the most valuable player in club history, then you are bound to get many replies. However, behind the scenes in the non-football administration, there's one gentleman who would more than qualify for team MVP. His name is Birrcher, and for 36 years he worked loyally for the New Orleans Saints in many roles. He worked in public relations and marketing at one time, but was most remembered for replacing Tommy Walker as team entertainment director and later the team's travel coordinator. Barra had the responsibility to make sure the club's charter flights were on time and the hotels were ready to serve the ball club. Here's Barra telling an interesting story about some players being late for a flight during the Jim Mora era.
We were just ready to take off. It was the scheduled time to take off, and 2 players went on board, and I told him that if they weren't there, we'd wait a few more minutes. He said, "What time is it?" I said, "It's 1 o'clock. He said, "What time are you supposed to leave?" I said, 1 o'clock. He said, "Well, let's get ready to leave." I said, "But I see so-and-so parking his car out there. He said, what time did you say we were supposed to leave? I said, 1 o'clock. He said, well, close the door.
One funny story involving Barra came after a 1991 home game versus the 49ers, when a piece of canvas above the Superdome's big screens, which hung above the 50-yard line, caught fire from a fireworks show at halftime. Worried that General Manager Jim Finks would be very upset over the incident, the next day at a staff meeting, to Barra's shock, Mr. Finks opened the meeting by having all present at the table put on plastic firemen's hats while dancing to the song Burning Down the House. Needless to say, Barra laughed the hardest of anyone. It's nearly impossible to list all the entertainment he brought in for the enjoyment of Saints fans. Singers from John Gary and Amy Como to marching bands from LSU and Southern. But the greatest reward for Barra was simply doing a good job. No public credit was needed. Even when the club was greatly tested after the Hurricane Katrina situation in 2005, he continued to look forward in helping the team get resituated in a temporary location. Barra elected to retire in early 2007, leaving a tremendous work ethic behind. To quote Charles Osgood when Charles Kuralt retired from CBS, "My friend, you will never be replaced. You will only be followed by another." And here's to you, Barra Birrcher, the most dedicated MVP in club history. For the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor, and Barra, this song's for you. Today on the Closet Sports Soundbite, we do another rendition of the Archive Audio Answer Find. The four voices you have to guess today all come from Saints history. So give a listen, and we'll give you the answers right after the final voice.
This team has only won 3 league openers in the 20 years. You know, it's not going to kill us if we lose to them, but if we can beat them, I just think it would mean that we're a good football team.
Coaches in the past have said, you guys are professionals, you know what to do, what it takes to win, and it's never gotten done.
Rules that you must live by. And if you don't want to live by these rules, you won't be around.
You know, you don't have to love the guy, you know, as long as you can respect him as a human being and as a coach. And I think that's very important.
Well, did you know the four answers? They were longtime head coach Jim Mora, followed by longtime offensive lineman Stan Brock, outside linebacker Pat Swilling, and one of Swilling's teammates at the linebacker position, Vaughn Johnson. That's it for the Closet Sports Soundbite today. I'm William Taylor. Today on the Closet Sports Soundbite, we pay tribute to Jay Richards, longtime radio man right here in New Orleans. He did it all, news, sports, commercials. There wasn't a thing in radio he probably couldn't do. One sports series he produced was called Sports Diary. The segment you're about to hear was scheduled to air on May 10th many years ago as an interesting retrospective on the America's Cup. Let's take a listen.
Thomas Lipton was born in Glasgow, Scotland, of poor Irish parents in 1850. In 1865, he came to America with less than $10 in his pockets. He earned money at menial jobs to buy a ticket back to Scotland, where he amassed immense wealth as a tea merchant to become one of the wealthiest men in the world. Queen Victoria bestowed knighthood upon Lipton, but Sir Thomas Lipton was also a yachting aficionado. He dedicated his unlimited resources to build the fastest yacht and capture the America Cup. Sir Thomas really wanted that trophy. He christened his boat the Shamrock, yet 5 times with 5 different Shamrocks he tried in vain. And he was a gracious loser, which endeared him to Americans. So here was a man who could buy anything in the world he wanted except the America Cup he so desperately wished to possess. It's amazingly true, but Sir Thomas Lipton is estimated to have spent between $5 and $6 million to win a trophy worth perhaps a couple of $100. Key anyone? Next, losing at a racetrack the hard way. I'm Jay Richards for Sports Diary.
Jay Richards was a true New Orleans radio original, and unfortunately the likes of which we'll never see again. Here's to a loyal and dedicated radio broadcaster and human being. For the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor. Today on the Closet Sports Soundbite, we talk about a great moment in Superdome history that unfortunately got passed over by many of the mainstream national media when talking about Superdome history leading into the Saints' return to the Superdome in 2006. February 25th, 1977 was the date. Pistol Pete Maravich and the New Orleans Jazz would participate in a contest against the New York Knicks in what would be record-setting by many standards. Pistol Pete would score 68 points in the contest to set an all-time NBA record for his position. Let's go back to the broadcast. Here's Andy Musser and Cal Ramsey with the call.
Pistol with 66 right now. Here's a basket for him if he can convert.
for this ball. The Pistols doing it all. A great ball game. And the crowd is going wild here at the Superdome.
I wonder what kind of contract he's going to ask for after this ball game.
Well, he ought to call his agent in right away. They are announcing that it's the highest total by a guard in the history of the National Basketball Association.
Well, you got to give it to him. He put on a performance this evening.
In his career, Pete Maravich would finish with 15,948 points, 108 blocks, 587 steals. He would make 3,564 free throws and would participate in 658 NBA games with Atlanta, New Orleans, and finally with the Boston Celtics. Pete was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame as a player in 1987. Pistol Pete passed away on January 5, 1988 at the age of 40, suffering a heart attack while playing in a 3-on-3 pickup basketball game in California. His legacy will never be forgotten by LSU fans, New Orleans Jazz fans, or for that matter, sports fans in general. And he was honored by being named to the NBA's 50th anniversary all-time team in 1996.
Pistol Pete.
And yes, fans, don't forget about Bob Longmire, the man who called many of Pistol Pete's shots as public address announcer for the Jazz in New Orleans. For the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor. 1949, the first full year of New Orleans television history, gave the local medium its first big star in the person of Mel Leavitt. His hiring at WDSU Television came after having success doing sports for the Mutual Radio Network out of New York. Here's Mel on his very first experience at WDSU.
They told me to report to work at the Hibernia Bank building, 14th floor, I think it was. So I went up to the 14th floor, walked down the corridor. I saw nothing that looked big enough to be a television studio. And then I saw television for the first time. The thing about television was that you weren't presenting shows, you were experiencing something and sharing it with an audience.
He followed Byron Dowdy as WDSU sports director in the 50s and hosted the ever-popular Evening Sports Report sponsored by Jack's Beer. Mel also served as WDSU special events director, where he earned countless awards for documentaries on the Huey Long story and the Battle That Missed the War, based on the Battle of New Orleans on its 150th anniversary. He also broke the color barrier by being part of the first local integrated radio broadcast team, working with Tex Stevens calling high school football games on WDSU radio. One of the more moving moments of his life came while covering the aftermath of Hurricane Betsy.
I went down in the lower 9th ward, and here was a lady sitting on a stoop. There's no house, just a stoop. And I sat down beside her, and she says, kind of mournfully, "You know, Mr. Leavitt, you don't know what you got till you ain't got it." I'll never forget that.
Mel would also serve as Saints pregame and halftime field announcer for the club's first few years and became a staple at countless Mardi Gras parades and galas. He continued to work for WDSU until 1973, when he left to do weekend sports at WVUE for the next 5 years. In a rather lost page in New Orleans TV history, he was recognized by WGNO management as their first ever news director in 1979, when he agreed to do a regular half-hour program called Mel Leavitt Magazine. He also did sports at WGNO, covering Tulane football and basketball throughout the 1980s, but without a doubt, he will always be remembered for Prep Quiz Bowl, later Varsity Quiz Bowl.
Welcome once again to Prep Quiz Bowl. And we felt that a project such as this would help accentuate academic achievement and also focus on the many positive actions of our youth today.
For many decades until 1985, Mel served as moderator between area high schools on their knowledge of school subjects and trivia.
All right, another toss-up. A king of Epirus defeated the Romans after sustaining heavy losses for 10 points. What kind of victory, named for this king, is a victory won at excessive cost? Anderson.
Pyrrhic victory.
That is right, named after King Pyrrhus, and you have 10 points.
Mel passed away in late 1997 at age 70. Just like many local broadcast greats, the likes of him we will unfortunately never see again. For the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor.
An excellently played game between two fine teams. We'll be back after we validated the final score, right after this.
Henry Louis Stram was born January 3rd, 1923, though the rest of the world would know him as Hank. His father, Henry Wilczek, was a pro wrestler and used the name Stram in his occupation, and the family name was changed appropriately. He earned 7 letters playing football and baseball at Purdue in the 1940s and briefly served in the U.S. Defense Forces during World War II. He served as an assistant football coach at Purdue from 1948 to 55 and was their head baseball coach for 5 years. In 1956, he served as an assistant coach at Notre Dame, replacing Jim Finks. After working for SMU and the University of Miami, he became head coach of the Dallas Texans of the new AFL in 1960. For 15 seasons, Stram led the Chiefs to 3 AFL titles and one Super Bowl title in January 1970, defeating the Vikings 23-7. During that game, he agreed to wear a microphone for NFL Films. His commentary would resonate for decades to come.
Come on, Lenny. Pump it in there, baby. Just keep matriculating the ball down the field, boys. 65 horsepower trap. That might pop wide open, Rats. The Mentor. 65 horsepower trap. Yeah. I tell you that baby is there. Yes, sir, boys. Woo! Coach pumped it in there, boys.
He created the moving pocket formation on offense and the stacked defense, won more games than any other AFL head coach, and is credited for helping introduce Gatorade to the NFL. He coached the Saints in 1976 and 77, then went over to the CBS TV and radio broadcast booth, where he called games through the mid-1990s, mostly with Jack Buck. He received a long-overdue Hall of Fame induction in 2003. His speech truly captured the emotion and appreciation he had for the game and those close to him.
The honor I feel today being inducted into the Hall of Fame is beyond what words can't describe. Lamar Hunt, what a great owner, what a dear friend. I'm here today because you, Lamar, provided me with the opportunity to be your head coach for 14 and a half years. As I matriculate my way down the field of life, I will never forget this moment and you wonderful people who helped make this day possible. The good book says all good and perfect gifts come from above, and this is truly a perfect gift. I thank God and I ask His blessings on each of you and on our America. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. That's it, baby. That's it. How sweet it is. Nice going.
Hank Stram passed away on July 4th, 2005 at age 82, but his memory will live on through all the lives he touched along the way. For the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor. The New Orleans Saints have played in 3 different Hall of Fame games in their history, all of which are played in Canton, Ohio. The first was August 8th, 1970 versus the Vikings. Appropriately, Saints head coach Tom Fears was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame for his outstanding career as a wide receiver with the Rams prior to the game. And for all of you trivia fans out there, Fears' celebrity guest in attendance was comedian Marty Allen. The game was also noteworthy because the NFL owners had locked out all the veteran players from training camps and preseason games over disagreements with the union. As a result, the Hall of Fame game was played with all rookies and unsigned free agents. That gave rookie Doug Wyatt a better opportunity to play and win the game on a 50-yard run back off of a turnover for a touchdown, 14-13 Saints. July 30th, 1983, the Saints played the Steelers in a 27-14 loss, where one of the more interesting moments came from the broadcast booth as ABC's Frank Gifford called out the name of the wrong Saints player, scoring a touchdown in the fourth quarter. He should have said the name of Nicholls State University's Marvin Dumas, but instead, well, just listen.
Nicholls State, a first-year man. Marvin Dumas, a free agent, and under Guido Merkin.
The next Saints Hall of Fame game was July 27th, 1996 versus the Colts in a 10-3 loss. It was the first opportunity for the team to see in person the bust of one-time general manager Jim Finks, who was inducted the previous year. Likely the most interesting moment came on the Saints' final play. 4th down and a few seconds to go at the Colts' 4-yard line. Quarterback Doug Nussmeier calls timeout to see what play offensive coordinator Carl Smith wanted to run. When Nussmeier goes back into the huddle, he had to tell his teammates that Smith couldn't make up his mind as to what play to run. So Nussmeier called his own, which went incomplete and ended the chance for overtime. So who knows what excitement will occur at the 2007 Hall of Fame contest. For the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor. November 30th, 1931 was the birth date of one William Ernest Walsh in Los Angeles, California. At San Jose State, he played offensive and defensive end and was a member of the collegiate boxing team as a heavyweight. Later, he would briefly coach at Washington High School in Fremont, California, before being hired as an assistant by the new head coach at California University, Mel Leavitt, in the early 1960s. He would leave that job to work as an assistant at Stanford before working on the pro level in 1966 for the Oakland Raiders, where he took the club's vertical passing philosophy and in later years modified it into more of a horizontal passing game, which he first utilized as an assistant with the Bengals from 1968 to 75. After 1 year with the Chargers in 1976, he became Stanford University's head coach for the next 2 seasons and was named Pac-8 Coach of the Year in 1977. Then the NFL's 49ers came calling in 1979, and for the next 10 seasons, Bill Walsh brought 3 Super Bowl titles to the city by the Bay, and his well-known offense became the West Coast offense. He brought in future great players like Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott, and Jerry Rice. Not to mention many of his assistant coaches went on to the head coaching ranks, including Mike Holmgren, Jim Fossil, Sam Weish, George Seifert, and Dennis Green. Here's Bill Walsh on many aspects of his career.
I died when we'd lose a game. I mean, I would die. If we'd win, I'd take my wife to dinner. About halfway through dinner, I'd get silent and stare off into space. She said, "What is it?" I said, "We're playing Dallas next week." So you get about half a meal out before you start reverting right back to, and I'm starting to draw X's and O's on the napkin. I miss the technical side of it, every little thing, every detail. Unfortunately, in my case, I can envision 11 men at one time, and I can still see them. But that was at the height of my career. I had a real feel for what everybody was doing. But I really enjoyed designing plays to beat defenses. But I also enjoyed the players themselves and the teasing. We had so much fun.
After 10 years with the 49ers, Walsh worked for NBC Sports with Dick Enberg. He returned to Stanford and coached for 3 seasons, wrote 2 books, and returned to the 49ers as a vice president, general manager, and special consultant from 99 to 01. He was diagnosed with leukemia in November 2004, and in November of 2006, he went public with his diagnosis.
So many people knew, and I couldn't have my secretary mislead people any longer. I mean, I had 50, 60 phone calls to my former players when the word gets around. Newspaper people calling me, and I just had to come forward with it, or they would do it on their terms, and I would have to sort of try to correct what they said.
Bill Walsh passed away on July 30th, 2007 at age 75. His legacy will not be forgotten, and his presence will stand the test of time. For the Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor. On today's Closet Sports Soundbite, we go back to June 23rd, 1971. A very interesting and eventful day in baseball history that's not really talked about that much. Philadelphia Phillies pitcher Rick Wise did something rather unbelievable. In one game, he hit 2 home runs while in the process of throwing a no-hitter. Let's go to Harry Callis for the call of this great Major League Baseball moment.
There's a well-hit ball, deep left field. That might go. It is a home run for Rick Wise, his second of the game. And what a story this is. He is putting on quite a show here tonight. Can't pitch any better, and you can't hit any better. Full count to Pete Rose. Well, it's gone down to the wire. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Swing a line drive. He did it. Vukovich made the grab. Wise has done it. A no-hit, no-run game.
Without a doubt, it was one of the greatest multifaceted moments for a single baseball player in all of Major League Baseball history. This is William Taylor for the Closet Sports Soundbite. Today on the Closet Sports Soundbite, we look back at the very beginning and the very end of the career of Mickey Mantle. First, we go back to his second year in the league, 1952. It was Game 7 of the World Series when he would hit the winning home run in the 6th inning over the Brooklyn Dodgers. Let's listen to Mel Allen call.
Mickey Mantle struck out and grounded to first. Yanks 2, Dodgers 2, 6th inning. There's a fly ball out to right field. That ball is going, it is gone. And the Yankees are back out in front 3-2 in the battle of the home runs. And there's Chuck Dressen over to water cooler. Contemplating the situation, looking down toward the bullpen now to see how the boys are coming. This series will go down as one of the greatest of all time. It will go down as the series called the Battle of the Home Run. Regardless of the outcome of the series, this young man's name will be emblazoned high among the stars. Mickey Mantle.
His major league career would last some 17 seasons. And on June 8, 1969, Mickey Mantle Day was held at Yankee Stadium. Here are some of the festivities.
And I'm terribly privileged to have the honor to once again call from the dugout one of the all-time Yankee greats, the magnificent Yankee, the great number 7, Mickey Mantle. When I walked into this stadium 18 years ago, I felt much the same way I do right now. I don't have words to describe how I felt then or how I feel now, but I'll tell you one thing, baseball was real good to me, and playing 18 years in the Yankee Stadium for you folks is the best thing that could ever happen to a ball player. Now, to think that the Yankees are retiring my number 7 with numbers 3, 4, and 5 tops off everything that I could ever wish for. I've often wondered how a man who knew he was going to die could stand here and say that he was the luckiest man in the world. But now I think I know how Lou Gehrig felt. It's been a great honor. I'll never forget it. God bless you all, and thank you very much.
Mickey Mantle died on August 13, 1995, at the age of 63 from liver cancer. He was named in honor of the great baseball player Mickey Cochran, and forever his legacy in Major League Baseball will never be forgotten. This is William Taylor for the Closet Sports Soundbite. A true legend in Louisiana sports history was Ernie Ladd, a stellar defensive star at Grambling University, who was taken in the 15th round of the American Football League draft by head coach Sid Gilman of the San Diego Chargers. Ernie would go on to play in 4 straight AFL All-Star games from 1962 to 65 and would also make All-Pro with the Houston Oilers and Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs head coach Hank Stram once said of Ernie that his dominance as a defensive lineman, along with his teammate Earl Faison, forced Hank to develop the moving pocket offense so quarterback Len Dawson could have more time to throw the football. Ernie retired from pro ball after the 1968 season and was the invited guest of Hank Stram at Super Bowl IV in New Orleans. Here's a rare interview with CBS TV and Frank Gifford in the victorious Chiefs locker room with Ernie from that game.
Ernie Ladd, you said something you were a part in your heart.
Oh, yes, of course. I've been wrestling all season in Madison Square Garden, around New York and Boston and other places. But in my heart, I want to tell you, I was a part of this organization. Like they might try to forget the American Football League, but we'll never forget it.
But fans will also know very well that Ernie was an international pro wrestling star, having won numerous titles all over North America, including right here in the old Mid-South Wrestling territory. Ernie was inducted into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame in 1994. That same year, he was placed into the WCW Hall of Fame, and 1 year after that, the WWF Hall of Fame. Ernie could also talk with great enthusiasm as well. Here's a sample with ring announcer Reeser Boughton on Ernie's opinion of Andre the Giant.
But Andre the Giant seems to relish that North American Championship belt more than he does the World Championship.
Well, Reese, the reason Andre the Dummy wants me so bad because I beat him in Los Angeles. He goes around telling people that he's never been beat, which is a lie. And if you stand in my face and call me a lie, I'll slap your face real good in the general public.
And on occasion, Ernie would call wrestling matches with the legendary Boyd Pierce. Here's probably his greatest call involving Paul Orndorff reversing Ted DiBiase's figure 4 leg lock for the first time.
Oh, looks like Ted DiBiase is in a lot of pain. Paul Orndorff is bridged up. DiBiase sound like he want to give up.
Look at Paul Orndorff.
Look at the pain that DiBiase is in.
On the far side, really letting Ted DiBiase have it. Both men now.
DiBiase is about to pass out.
Ted go.
DiBiase is about to pass out. He won't give up. Why don't the man give up? Snap his leg. He's going to get his leg snapped. I cannot believe this boy Pierce.
And like you said, Ernie, a good way to receive a broken leg right now.
I cannot believe this.
Ernie was very proud of becoming a born-again Christian later in his life and often spoke to groups about fulfilling their life through Christ. Ernie Ladd passed away on March 10, 2007 in Franklin, Louisiana at the age of 68 and will be greatly missed by those who knew him and the fans that watched him. For Closet Sports Soundbite, I'm William Taylor.
So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, for Ernie Ladd, our guest commentator, I'm Boyd Pierce saying goodbye, everybody. There you see it.
I believe
no
DiBiase is
time
out.
has gone on Mid-South Wrestling.
No, he's not out. I can't believe this.
Welcome to the Closet Sports Soundbite. I'm William Taylor. Today we do something a little bit different. I used to call this the Archive Audio Answer Find. You're going to hear 4 voices in the world of sports, past and present, and try to figure out who they are. Sometimes they have a common theme, sometimes they don't. So without further ado, let's listen to today's 4 mystery voices.
Let's just get with it. What great matches. And that tag title match with Bob Root and DiBiase against Alpha and Sika, that should be a barn burner.
And it's great to have you with us, talking arena football, voodoo style. And
the Super Bowl champion Washington Redskins, that means quarterback Joe Theismann, running back John Riggins.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport.
So, do you know who our voices are for today? Well, the first one was legendary wrestling promoter and former Oklahoma University football star Cowboy Bill Watts. Second was our own Kenny Trahan. Third, the legendary Howard Cosell. And finally, the voice of ABC's Wide World of Sports, Jim McKay. This is William Taylor, and we'll get with you next time with another edition of the Closet Sports Soundbite and Audio Archive Answer Find. Chris Schenkel was truly a landmark voice in TV sports history. His remarkable baritone was first heard over the airwaves at WBAA in Indiana in the 1940s while he was pursuing a pre-med degree. He resumed his broadcast career after serving in World War II, where some records show he did the first college football game on TV. In 1952, he moved up to the national stage at the Dumont Network, where his duties included calling New York Giants football. He did college football.
And a slot I. This is Matt.